In his first interview since the 2026 César Awards, Katt Williams has thrown open the door on what he claims is a Hollywood far more controlled.
Streets, you need a date to the party? What's up?
No. I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join and
replaced than most people ever realized. It's April 2026. And many of the warnings he's been sounding for years about the industry and the elites behind it now feel...
and here I am.
They're celebrating...
you gotta admit, it's completely meaningless.
Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside.
Celebrating
Do you believe
icons.
in icons?
Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air.
You don't believe certain icons have the power to make change, to think differently, to be bold, to...
Eerily accurate. He's not only naming the celebrities he believes have been swapped out, but also highlighting those who are shut down for speaking too honestly. And in doing so, he's
to inspire others? Artistry? You're one of them.
On the good foot! Ha! Yeah. You shut her down now. Yeah, no, I don't believe in icons. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, beyond the red S that you wear on your chest that makes bullets bounce off. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing.
Making everyone wonder who the next target might be. Katt suggests we've already passed the point where we can simply find the control room and expose the puppet masters.
Dancing for itself. And I don't care.
But Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion. You look good.
No, I didn't get dressed up. I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream?
There's just things happen.
Because the system has long since been locked down. Instead of protecting truth tellers, society often turns on them, dismissing whistleblowers as too truthful.
Is that a gang sign? Have you,
Oh, like you don't know what it is. You don't know what that is.
I have no idea.
You don't know. Jimmy Fallon doesn't know. David Letterman doesn't know.
We don't know.
All the comics and show business don't know what this is. Right?
The moment they're caught. Back in March, Jim Carrey resurfaced at the 2026 César Awards after months of vanishing from public view, and the change in...
Yeah.
What is it?
Come on, Jimmy. Seriously, the time is up. People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue.
Oh, I like it. You could use a spray paint.
His appearance was almost impossible to miss. His jawline, his eyes, his entire face seemed subtly altered, as if someone had quietly redrawn the blueprint of a...
The all-mocking tongue. And I'm sick of it. I want everybody to be in on the joke, man. You know what I mean? For years now, talk show hosts, people on television, people in sitcoms have been hired by the government to throw you off the track, to distract you, to make you laugh and stuff like that, make you happy and docile so you don't know what's really going on. You know, when they get out there in the woods in a circle naked and they decide these things and, and...
Familiar icon. The strangeness didn't stop at his looks. His speech felt off, disjointed, and strangely out of sync with the sharp, self-aware Jim Carrey fans once knew. For years following...
Look at him trying to come it out. It's hilarious. And, and I'm sick of... hold on a second. You know what they're trying to do?
Who?
This thing is buzzing. Hold on. They're trying to turn us into, consumer drones of some sort. Hold on.
In The Mask, he's openly criticized Hollywood, calling it rotten to the core. rejecting the industry's glitz and calling most of its glamour meaningless, even while accepting some of its biggest awards. Yet suddenly, in 2026, that critical voice had vanished. The new Jim beamed about how honored he was to be part of the entertainment world, how much he'd worked on his French speech, and how proud he was of the awards show, turning away from the man who once sat at New York Fashion Week and bluntly said Hollywood is an industry built on lies, while laughing off the need for a glamorous date or a party invite because he was doing just fine on his own. At first, it sounded like just of Jim Carrey's wild, absurdist riffs, laughing off the whole thing as meaningless. There's no meaning to any of this, he mumbled, as if he were crashing a party he didn't even believe in. So, I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could possibly come to and join, and here I am. The interviewer pushed back, pointing out that the night was supposed to be a celebration of icons, but Jim wasn't buying it. Well, they say they're celebrating icons inside. He shot back, celebrating icons. Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming possibility we could come up with. It's like icons. What do you even do with that? Do you actually believe in icons? He went further, dismissing the very idea of personalities and insisting that what really matters exists beyond the costume, beyond the mask, beyond the red S that acts like a superhero fantasy. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise, he said, describing reality as a field of energy dancing for itself, then shrugging off the idea that any of them were really there at all. Just a dream. Just things happening. This wasn't just random stand-up. It was a pattern that stretched back over years. In interview after interview, Jim had grown increasingly disillusioned with Hollywood, openly calling the industry hollow and even hinting that he was preparing to walk away from it completely. He stopped showing up at award shows, stopped playing the game, and instead started talking about how people are being subtly controlled. References he once made to the idea of the Illuminati slipped out in casual chats, suggesting he saw the entertainment world as part of a larger, hidden system. But then, in 2026, something shifted. The Jim who once rolled his eyes at the whole charade now stood on stage, smiling ear to ear, gushing about how much he loved acting and how honored he felt to be part of the industry once again. The contrast was jarring. The same man who once joked about the emptiness of icons was now draped in glamour, acting as if he'd fully bought into the myth he'd spent years mocking. The tension came to a head when the conversation turned to a strange hand gesture, something that looked like a possible gang sign or coded symbol. "What is that?" the interviewer asked, playing along. "Have you seen that?" Jim feigned ignorance, then dragged the whole thing into the spotlight. "All the comics and show business don't know what this is," he teased, building up the mystery before dropping the punchline. "Seriously, the time is up," he said, leaning in. "People are hip to this kind of stuff. I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and it's the all-mocking tongue." He turned it into a theatrical reveal, insisting the gesture stood for the all-mocking tongue, then doubled down. "I'm sick of it." In that moment, it felt like Jim was both joking and deadly serious, teasing the idea of an elite control system while simultaneously talking about it as if it were real, leaving the audience wondering, was this performance art, a warning, or proof that he himself had been quietly rewritten into a new version of Hollywood's script? "I want everyone to be in on the joke, man," Jim Carrey once said, half laughing, half dead serious. "You know what I mean?" For years now, talk show hosts, sitcom actors, people on TV, they've essentially been hired guns, brought in to throw you off the scent, to distract you, to make you laugh and feel good and docile, so you don't wake up to what's really going on. He painted a surreal picture. People in suits circling in the woods, naked and wheeler dealing, deciding who's allowed to rise, who's gonna fall, while the rest of the world just watches them try to play it cool. "Look at them," he cracked, trying to calm it out. "It's hilarious. Hilarious. And I'm sick of it." Before his 2026 César Awards appearance even ended, the internet lit up with a single idea: Jim Carrey had been cloned. Fans insisted the man on stage wasn't the same person they'd watched for decades. His face, his voice, his energy all felt subtly wrong, as if the script had been rewritten without his consent. Some went further, suggesting that if he ever spoke out again, he'd either be replaced entirely or quietly disappear, because in that system, nothing is coincidental, especially when money's involved. The same logic has been applied to rap stars murdered under mysterious circumstances. The narrative isn't that they're collateral damage, but that they're obstacles. When a rapper worth, say, 20 million gets killed, the theory goes, the machinery behind the scenes walks away with 60 million in benefits, rid of contracts, negotiations, and inconvenient egos, replaced by a single, manageable figure, often apparent, visited once a year, and quickly smoothed away. Don't act shocked. The argument follows. Somebody made big money. Business is business. And then there's the kicker many can't shake. When Jim stood under the bright lights joking about the all-mocking tongue, flashing hand signs no one on the panel could explain, it felt less like a punchline and more like a coded confession. In that moment, the idea that he's been replaced or repurposed by the very industry he used to mock suddenly didn't sound like pure conspiracy. It sounded like a grotesque but plausible punchline to a joke that's been running for years, with the whole world watching and thinking, wait, are we the punchline? There's a way of seeing the whole game that flips the script. Every big business, especially in entertainment, has a good side and a bad side, but it's the bad side that really runs the show. The moment you notice that the industry wants to control what artists say and the messages they're allowed to send, the whole picture starts to feel less like chance and more like choreography. Right before Kanye West's spiral into what the world labeled as mental health chaos, he dropped a raw Instagram video saying exactly that. Hollywood elites were trying to pull his strings, and he even gave a simple rule for who's really behind the curtain. Just check who profits when someone disappears when he turned to mind control. He wasn't just talking about dark labs or sci-fi experiments. He meant the way social media shapes what you create, what gets promoted, and what gets erased. A positive post that doesn't fit the bigger agenda vanishes. A controversial one blows up all on its own. That's the echo chamber at work. Nudging behavior, rewarding compliance, and quietly punishing those who step outside the script. The idea is that people are being molded into a single, monolithic thought pattern. What you see, what you repeat, even what you laugh at, all guided by incentives and algorithms disguised as platforms. And then there's the clone logic people keep running with. If they can clone your dog, why not you? Dog cloning is real, brutal, and borderline Pet Cemetery grade strange. Companies will take your pup's DNA, grow a new puppy, and market it as eerily similar, almost mirroring mannerisms and personality. From that angle, the jump to human cloning doesn't feel like pure fantasy. It feels like the next step in a pattern where the powerful get rid of inconvenient voices and slide in a version that's easier to manage. In that context, when someone says, if they ever bring me back looking and talking different, it's not me. And then the world actually sees that exact shift in both behavior and appearance, the clone theory starts to sound less like a joke and more like a coded warning. The pattern is simple, almost mechanical. A celebrity gets big on fame and money, then grows disillusioned, starts naming names, and exposes the reality behind the glitter. A few months later, they vanish from the public eye, reappear unrecognizable, and suddenly they're defending the very system they once condemned. Kanye once said they'd take your money, block you out, and even take your life if you didn't fall in line, and to believers, his later meltdown and change in persona read like a live demonstration of that promise. So when someone stands up, denies the existence of clones, and insists nothing like that happens, the conspiracists just shrug and say, the guy telling you that? It's probably the clone. Life is close calls, and every morning I wake up surprised to still be here. The speaker reflects, describing a world where the threats aren't just physical but layered, political, online, even social media driven. The sheer volume of conflict, from Twitter storms to public smears, has turned survival itself into a kind of second act. And yet, the decision to keep exposing what's under the surface is framed as the first step toward cleaning the whole mess. The first thing you do when something stinks is admit there's a smell, he says, comparing the public's reaction to a couch that everyone can sense smells bad, but no one wants to lift up. The moment someone actually tries to see what's under it, the whole industry suddenly shouts, stay away from that couch. Phil Archive +2. He then reveals a darker chapter from his own story. His trainer, Harley Neck, was tied to MKUltra, style Canadian intelligence, working in defense research and development on SCOPS programs for the military. That connection, he claims, bled into how he was treated medically, exhausted, misdiagnosed, and pushed toward massive doses of lithium. When he asked how much they wanted to put him on, it took 4 days just to get an answer, because the number was so high they were embarrassed. He refused the medication, convinced that compliance would have erased him from the conversation, replaced by a narrative of a deeply troubled genius we miss, but we love his music. The comparison is obvious. Put him in the same category as Britney Spears or Michael Jackson, figures whose downward spirals were framed as personal collapse rather than systemic control. Now Katt Williams is naming more celebrities he thinks are on the cloning radar, and the pattern holds. Each of them has, at some point, openly warned that they know they could be replaced. Dave Chapelle stands out as the most recent example, weaving the fear of co-option into his stand-up. He's not just talking about being attacked. He's terrified of being used, of his voice becoming too powerful to be left uncontrolled and then quietly reshaped to serve the very forces he criticizes. My voice has become more powerful than I intended it to be, he admits, and from that grows a chilling fear. What if someone trips me up, co-opts him, and then makes him say the things they want him to say? Nonviolent, that's why he pledges to leave behind a code word, a secret phrase that, if he ever says it, will be the audience's signal that the version of him on stage is no longer the real one. It's a survival strategy born from a simple understanding. When institutions can't silence you, they'll try to absorb you. If they can't stop your voice, they'll change the owner of it. The line, "we can't have that," isn't a joke. It's a line in the sand, drawn over the idea that a crowd can still recognize its truth tellers, even when the system is trying to swap them out right under everyone's nose. Dave Chappelle's joke about the code word lands like a punchline, but beneath it is a quiet warning. Don't tell anybody what it is, but it's got to be something that I would never say under normal circumstances. He leans into the absurd, then flips it into a dead serious signal. The code word is "I stand with Israel. Thank you very much and good night." The audience roars, but the subtext is clear. He's weaponizing a line that feels alien to his own politics, a line he'd never naturally utter, so that if it ever slips out on stage, it would be the fans' cue that the real Dave is no longer driving the mic. Dave understood early on that fame and money aren't just rewards, they're levers. In Hollywood, contracts aren't just paperwork. They're traps designed to enforce the industry's will. When Comedy Central dangled a $100 million deal in front of him, Dave walked away. Even Oprah pressed him, asking if he was crazy to refuse that kind of money. He told her he knew the price. The money would become a chain, not a safety net. After he declined, Oprah mocked him on air, making it seem like a joke. But behind the laughter, Katt Williams saw something deeper. Dave was refusing to let the system own his voice. When Chapelle walked away from his wildly popular show, critics and fans alike asked, "What the hell is he thinking?" He himself admits that was the exact question spinning in his head. But his answer runs deeper than confusion. He describes a crisis of conscience and a refusal to let money overwrite his integrity as an artist. He explains that stepping out of the spotlight wasn't a retreat, it was an escape from the trap. It's so much bigger than money, he insists, because the real danger isn't losing the payout, it's losing the self. He illustrates it with a nature documentary about a salt trap used by Bushmen to catch baboons. Salt is placed in a small hole. The baboon reaches in, grabs it, and the salt swells in its fist, jamming the hand so the animal can't pull it out again. If the baboon were smart, it would simply let go. But the desire to hold onto the salt is stronger than the urge to flee. The hunter then captures the baboon, feeds it more salt, and eventually releases it. The first place the thirsty baboon runs is to water, leading the hunter straight to the source. In that story, Dave says he felt like the baboon that had the sense to drop the salt before being caged. He walked away from tens of millions because he recognized the salt for what it was, bait dressed up as success. And when Katt circles back to the scale of what Dave really left behind, he hammers the point. People say he lost $50 million. No, that's not even close to what happened. Until you grasp the full picture, Not just the figure, but the kind of control it would have bought over his voice and his choices. You can't really understand what Dave Chappelle actually walked away from. It's not just about 50 million people wouldn't walk away from, the speaker says. It's about what he's had to walk away from himself. I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times, he admits, each time choosing his own integrity over the kind of money that could be used to leash him. That kind of consistency flips the script. It's not crazy to say no. It's a calculated move to keep the system from owning you. Then there's Jamie Foxx. Around the same time Diddy's mansion was raided, Jamie vanished from public view almost completely for close to a year. When he finally came back, his story felt like something out of a horror conspiracy hybrid. He claimed he'd taken an aspirin, then woke up in a hospital with no memory of how he got there. He told interviewers that his biggest fear during that time was being cloned and replaced. He snuck his phone into the room because he needed to see what the outside world was saying about him, only to spiral deeper when he read the rumors that he was a clone. "I'd just been in this hospital," he said, struggling to wrap his mind around it. "I had a stroke. I'm in perfect shape." The clone _ through me. When people online called him the clone, it unhinged him in the hospital. "That's it," he remembers thinking. "These _ are trying to clone me." He describes a surreal moment under heavy sedation where he saw himself walk into his room, except this version was white, with a Caesar haircut, and everyone acted like that was normal. He tried to get attention, but no one reacted, and the idea that they were trying to swap him out, clone me and make me white so I'll sell better overseas, sank in. The next morning, he told himself he had to get out before the illusion became permanent. Later, at a dinner in Vegas, his daughter pointed out a man on the street and said, "That ain't him. That's a clone." Jamie laughed it off in the moment, but in his own telling, the fear never really left. "You can't clone this," he told Atlanta in a performance, bragging that the energy and originality he brought to the stage are too unique to be copied. "I brought you too much original, too much different. There ain't enough clone juice in the world to clone me." Yet Katt Williams sees it differently. He's convinced that Jamie Foxx was cloned, and that the person we're seeing now isn't the real Jamie. "You have to be stupid to think that cloning isn't happening in the entertainment industry," he argues, then walks the audience step by step. "Animal cloning is real. Companies like Viagen Pets will clone your dog, and we've already mastered complex human surgeries, from organ transplants to experimental pig heart procedures. If we can do that in the medical world," he asks, "why assume human cloning is..." Katt's evidence is specific. He claims the clone showed up with a face full of freckles Jamie never had, and was missing a tattoo on the back of his head that the real Jamie owned. He also ties Jamie's disappearance to the same timeline as Diddy's raids, implying that Jamie's involvement in those circles got him taken out and replaced. Still, he's careful to wrap it in showmanship. "Anything I say tonight is allegedly," he says, laughing. "I don't know what the hell we've been talking about." He insists he loves Jamie Foxx, but he also insists that the clone isn't keeping up. "It's stupid as hell," he jokes, showing up with the wrong skin, the wrong marks, the wrong face, proving that even the machinery of Hollywood can't perfectly recreate someone who's too original to be replicated. "I couldn't believe it," the speaker says, still processing the strangeness. "I watched the whole thing twice, and I still don't know what really happened. Was that the story where somebody just gave him an aspirin and 21 days later, he wakes up in a hospital? Wait a minute, that sounds like somebody gave you a dick," he jokes, then backtracks, laughing. "You've got to be more specific, sir." The mix of fear and confusion is clear. He's scared to get too close to whatever's going on, but he also wants to see the madness play out from a distance. "I want to see the shenanigans, but I do not want to participate." That's when he traces it back to Jamie Foxx. He thought he was about to get drawn into the same world. That's when he knew he was going to _ with Jamie. He describes stories of butt-naked basketball parties, adding, "I love basketball, but I don't love basketball like that." The lurid, almost absurd image sticks because it hints at a side of Hollywood that's never meant for the camera. Katt Williams, meanwhile, saw how the new Jamie was acting and even laid out what he claims to have witnessed at those parties, the kind of detail that makes people wonder whether he's revealing truth or exaggerating for shock value. That's also why the elites are so scared of him. They once thought Katt was one of them, part of the inner circle, but after his explosive announcement last year, they know it's only a matter of time before he names names and exposes the whole setup. He talks about seeing celebrities line up on shuttle buses headed to Diddy's events, and then watching them return the same night, but not the same people. When they come back, they're acting completely different, almost like versions of themselves that no longer match the personalities they once had on stage. When asked how he knows what goes on at these P. Diddy parties without actually being inside, he laughs and flips the question. He explains that the parties in the Hollywood Hills would start with a designated parking lot, where a shuttle service ferried guests up the hill. He was never invited to the parties themselves, but he was invited to the parking lot because he knew the people who ran the shuttles. He describes just hanging out in his car, smoking and laughing and watching everybody who's going up there, convinced they think he'll join them later. But 5 hours later, he's still in the same spot when the shuttles come back down. What he sees when they return is the seed of the conspiracy theories. Big-time Hollywood stars climbing off the buses, looking sad and nice, all dressed in the same kind of clothing, all looking oily, walking in a dazed, almost mechanical way, with their shoelaces always untied. "I don't know why their shoelaces were always untied," he repeats, leaving it dangling like a tiny detail that feels too strange to be random. All of this forces the same question: is Katt Williams exposing the truth? Or is he just warning the public before the next celebrity change happens right in front of our eyes? The deeper question for viewers becomes, do you believe Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, Kanye West, and Dave Chapelle were actually replaced, cloned, or co-opted? Or are they simply being controlled by the old Hollywood cocktail of fame, money, and fear? The way celebrities vanish, come back altered, and then defend the very systems they once criticized makes the line between brainwashing, co-option, and full-on cloning almost impossible to draw. The invite now turns to the audience. What do you think is really happening behind the curtain? Exposure or manipulation or both? Regardless of where you land, the call to action is clear. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because the story only seems to be getting darker. And if you want more deep dives into what Hollywood doesn't want you seeing, the usual moves apply. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you're right there when the next layer of the story drops.